I'm going to take you through now 3 variations of campaign structures, getting more and more advanced. And depending on the amount of historical data you have right now, then one structure will be more correct for you than another. So this first structure is operating on the assumption that you don't have a lot of historical data, and then we'll get to one that is more effective if you do have data, and then we'll get to a third one that is most effective if you have a sizable amount of existing data. So in this first campaign structure, what we're looking at is a campaign, prospecting, conversions objective, and it's optimizing towards your objective, most likely purchases. In this first ad set, you have a stacked interest ad set, and we're classifying it as a large ad set. In other words, we've designed this ad set so that it's equal in size to about a 1 or 2% lookalike. So if our 1 to 2% lookalikes are 5 million people, we want our interest ad set to be equal in size to about 5 million people. And the purpose this ad set serves is it's the largest audience that can capture some interest-based signals that may have evaded the lookalike algorithm. Now the second ad set we have is another interest-based ad set, but this one is more niche. It's smaller, and we want to design it so it's about equal in size to a 1% lookalike. And then we get into the lookalike ad sets. So this third ad set is a high recency initiate checkout lookalike. This one is capitalizing on the volume of initiate checkouts while emphasizing recency. So you could perhaps decide to do top 50% most recent initiate checkouts and build a lookalike off of that. The next ad set is a high value lookalike. So here we're capitalizing on the high average order value users. So you take the top 50% of those users and you build a lookalike based off of them, 1% in this case. And the last ad set is a standard but reliable 1% purchase-based lookalike. I do want to talk about exclusions because these are very important, especially given the first section of this course. A large part of that is making sure you have the right exclusions in place. And in this case, we want to make sure we're excluding everyone who will be in our retargeting audiences. We want our retargeting to do its job and our prospecting to do its job, which is reaching new people, not retargeting. So making sure each of these ad sets has a 30-day website visitor exclusion, a 30-day 95% plus video view exclusion, a 30-day post saves and key engagements exclusion, and then certainly you want to make sure you're excluding all your purchasers because this is your prospecting campaign after all. In terms of ads, there will be a point in time in this course when we cover creative in significant detail and creative structures. But for now, suffice to say that I think it's very important to have multiple variations of ads available for the system to optimize for you. Having approximately 3 to 5 ads per ad set is adequate. In these circumstances, it gives the system enough flexibility, but not so much that it doesn't know what to do with it. Now let's proceed to the next structure, V2. This structure is ideal for marketers with sizable historical purchase data, let's say about 1,000 purchases or higher. The first ad set on the left is similar to the last campaign. This is a stacked interest audience. We're going to put together interests so that our audience is equal to about 2 to 3% lookalike. And then we have our niche layered interest audience, which captures high intent potential users. And then we have a high recency initiate checkout lookalike. So similar to the last ad set, this capitalizes on this sheer volume we have of initiate checkouts because it is higher than purchases, while also emphasizing the recency effect. People who recently initiated checkout are better signals than people who initiated checkout a year ago. This next ad set is very high value, and it's niche in the sense that we're only using 1% lookalikes, and it's also a stacked audience. So what we're doing here is we're building a purchase-based lookalike off of the top 50% of our customers by value, and we're combining it with a lookalike of repeat purchasers. So this is a really high value audience right here. We're combining both of them so it ends up being bigger than a 1% audience, but not as large as a 2% audience. And then the last ad set is a standard and reliable lookalike, intentionally 2%. While it's certainly a good idea to do purchase-based segmentation, we should always still include our standard, simple purchase-based lookalikes. In this case, we want it to be larger though, so 2% purchase-based. And the exclusions here are the same. We have a set of exclusions we want to make sure we're applying so that we are not impacting the saturation of our prospecting. Next, we move to the most complex of these structures, V3. This is a highly scalable structure, and it's ideal for marketers who have a great deal of historical purchase data, roughly 3,000 purchasers or more. And we get to the point where we can be a little bit more selective with how we build our ad sets. So there is still certainly value in doing interest-based audiences because there's some interests that are not captured by lookalike algorithm. So we have an interest audience that's equal in size to about a 2 or 3% lookalike. And then we have a 2% based high recency initiate checkout lookalike. Next, we have top 25% of purchasers by value lookalike. And we're building a 2% lookalike based on that, as well as a 2% lookalike of our repeat purchasers. So once again, this is certainly very high value, but in this case, we're doing 2%, not 1%. And then we want to have an ad set which is based on the 50% of the most recent purchasers. So in this case, we are valuing more recency in purchasers because the people who recently purchased from you may have unique traits. They're certainly most important for the algorithm. So we're feeding them intentionally into Facebook and saying, produce a 2% lookalike for me here. And finally, we have our standard and reliable purchase-based lookalike, in this case, 3%. You may choose to go higher if you've received the signals telling you that even a 3% is saturated. You may want to go up to 5% or even higher. But this is a structure I'm pretty happy with. If you have the purchase data to allow you to develop this, it's very scalable and it properly deploys a lot of the concepts we've been talking about. You want to make sure you have your exclusion audiences in place. Once again, I just want to help you visualize what ends up happening behind the scenes here. When you end up using a set of audiences like this, even when they're in their own ad sets, the resulting structure does have some overlap, but it provides scale and fluidity. And what I mean by that is the overall size, the overall potential audience is greater than using any one of these audiences alone. And the fluidity is that these are all based on dynamic seed audiences, things that are going in and going out. Every day the Facebook pixel fires, every day new information is firing. And so your lookalikes update dynamically, and users are always entering and users are always leaving. And so it gets stale much more slowly than if you built all of your ad sets based on fixed or static seed audiences. Let's review some key takeaways. The most valuable advantage that you have as you've begun scaling your marketing on Facebook is most certainly your data. And in our case, it's your purchase-based data, which has multiple permeations in which you can use it. We discussed purchase data segmentation. When you're creating lookalikes, you can create even higher intent audiences without sacrificing size. And we discussed ways of combining them and using them within the same campaign so you have increased scalability. We discussed segmenting your data by value, by recency, by category, demographically, and then simply increasing your lookalike percentage. We also did talk briefly about interest audiences, and they have value, they have their application, but you need to make sure you tether your interest audience size to that of your lookalike, so you make sure it's not overwhelmingly large compared to your lookalikes. And finally, we discussed 3 advanced prospecting campaign templates which you can build from depending on your volume of historical data. One is probably better fitted for you than another, but please feel free to use those as a starting point to generate ideas for how you can build a structure that is high intent, but is fluid and scalable and enables you to grow your business while maintaining and even accelerating your ROAS and your profitability and your revenue. Thank you.